Computer keyboard, a closer look on the physics behind it. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syaqeer Zainal and my team, Qhudzairee Zainol, Taufiq, Mukhtar and Syamil Jeffry will present to you today about computer keyboards and the interesting physics behind it. Simple, cheap and era-defining. An everyday tool that defines our lives in the 21st century. It has a simple concept but with brilliant engineering applied. So, let us explore the fascinating physics principles that makes the keyboard what it is today as we know it. The origins of the keyboard can be traced back to the humble beginning of the typewriter. In the late 19th century, a man by the name of Christopher Latham Sholes brought forth a transformative invention that would forever reshape the printing industry. His creation, the typewriter, would go on to lay the foundation for the keyboards we interact with today with its iconic QWERTY layout. There are two types of keyboards that dominate the market today. Mechanical keyboards, where mechanical switches reign supreme, demanding a hefty price tag but delivering unparalleled durability and the prime choice for enthusiasts. On the opposing front, we have the membrane keyboards. With membrane switches, they are economical to mass produce and regarded as consumer-grade input devices. Today, we will take a look at the engineering behind the membrane keyboard. There are several parts to membrane keyboard which my friend Qhudzairee will explain about later. But the most important part of a membrane keyboard are the rubber domes and membrane layers. Combining these two layers will create a sort of switch mechanism for the keyboard. So, how does it work, you ask? Well, firstly, when the key is pressed with your fingers, the rubber dome is pushed downwards and stores potential energy. And then, the rubber dome makes contact with the membrane layer below and completes the electrical circuit. And thirdly, it stores the potential energy, afterwards turning it into kinetic energy, pushing the rubber dome back into its original position after the key is released. Thus, we can conclude that the rubber dome acts as a switch using a spring-like mechanism. And now, I will pass the presentation to my fellow team member, Qhudzairee Zainol.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Qhudzairee bin Abidin, and I will present about how the keyboard works. So before we delve into the keyboard, how the keyboard works, so we need to know the component first. So if you go to the next slide, there are parts of keyboard. So there are 148 parts of keyboard, but 8 of them are all important. So that is, the 8 parts are the rubber sheets, the 3 plastic sheet, top, middle and bottom, the conductive wire, batteries, clamping bracket and printed circuit board. So printed circuit board, also known as PCB, is where we save the coding for the keyboard. So and the clamping bracket is where we clamp the PCB to the keyboard so that the PCB will not be thrown away or will be safe inside the keyboard. So we move to the next slide. Okay, so this slide show the keyboard diagram. Okay, so now I will explain how the keyboard works. Okay, so the keyboard works by the battery and the microprocessor applying 3 volts to the conductive wire, but the circuit is not completed yet at that time. Okay, so how to complete the circuit? So we need to press the key. Okay, so when you press a key, the switch mechanism completes an electrical circuit. This mechanism consists of 2 conductive elements that are separated by a non-conductive gaps. That's why we need to have the plastic sheets, so they are separated by the non-conductive gap. Okay, so in resting position, the conductive element are not in contact and the circuit is open. However, when you press the key, the conductive element come into contact, closing the circuits. So this closure of the circuits allow the electric current to flow through the switch, creating a continuous pathway for the electrical signal. Okay, so the completion of the electrical circuits signals to the keyboard electronics component that a key has been pressed. Okay. So the electronic components that are located on a printed circuit board (PCB) capture this signal and transmit it to the connected computer or device. So once the signal reaches to the computer, the operating system interprets it based on its programming. So this interpretation results in specific actions such as generating a character on the screen or executing a command. So to put it simple, so when we press an F key on the keyboard, the monitor will show F on the computer. Okay. So by understanding the electrical principle behind keyboard functioning, we gain insight into the fundamental processes that allow us to interact with computers and input information efficiently. Now that we have explored the electrical principle, I will now move on to the next presenter that will explain about the role of capacitor or the capacitor in general. Okay.
Okay, next, I'd like to talk to you about the role of capacitors in keyboards. Capacitors are essential electronic components found in keyboard and they serve two important functions. The first function is debouncing. Have you ever experienced a keyboard registering multiple key presses for a single key press? This happened due to rapid electrical contacts being made and broken inside the key switch. These capacitors act as low-pass filters. They help smooth out the electrical signals generated when you press or release a key. By doing so, they eliminate the bouncing effect, ensuring that only a stable debounced signal is recognized. The second function of capacitors in keyboard is noise reduction. Keyboard can generate electrical noise during key presses, which can interfere with other electronic components or cause false signal. This is where capacitors play their parts. Capacitors in keyboard act as noise filters. They absorb and stabilize electrical fluctuation and high frequency noise that occur during key presses. By doing so, they prevent this disturbance from propagating through the keyboard circuitry and causing interference. So, to summarize, capacitors in keyboards are crucial components that serve two main purposes: debouncing and noise reduction. They smooth out electrical signals, preventing multiple key presses, and filter out noise to ensure optimal keyboard performance. So next, okay, so this is the picture of the keyboard in details. We have key, movable plate, soft insulator, and fixed plate. So when you press the key, the soft insulator will be compressed by the movable part and movable plate, and the capacitor will play their part as a debouncing and noise reduction.
Moving on to the applications of keyboard. An important function of a computer keyboard is to enter any type of digital information into the computer. For example, there's input. One of the primary purposes of keyboards is to enable the input of text and alphanumeric characters. Keyboard is used for putting information, including letters, words, and numbers, into your computer. Second point is compatibility with software. Keyboards are designed to work seamlessly with software applications, enabling users to navigate menus, execute commands, and other software tools. Keyboards are integral to interacting with computer systems and executing various software functions efficiently. In conclusion, keyboards facilitate communications and interaction between users and computers, enabling efficient and accurate data entry and command execution. Keyboards operate by receiving input from the user through the pressing of keys and transmitting that input into the computer or other devices.
Keyboards also allow for rapid and accurate input, enabling users to enter text and comments quickly. Compared to alternative input methods like handwriting recognition, or voice input, keyboards offer a higher degree of precision and allow users to type at their own pace. Keyboards, as physical objects, do not inherently bring Islamic values. However, the way keyboards are used can align with Islamic values and principles. Here are a few ways in which keyboards can be utilized in a manner consistent with Islamic values. First, Islamic education and content creation. Keyboards enable Muslims to contribute to Islamic education and content creation. They can write articles, blog posts, and social media content that promotes Islamic values and can educate others about Islam and dispels any misconception. Keyboards are reliable tools for Muslim writers, bloggers, and content creators to share their perspective and insights. The second is knowledge and learning. Keyboards are used to access and utilize digital Islamic service such as online Quran, dissertation platforms, Islamic learning app, and virtual prayer timings. This service enable Muslims to enhance their understanding of Islam and strengthen their connection with Allah. That's all from our group. Thank you.